This is episode 277 of the Super League pod. As hard-hitting as a Morgan Smithy's headbutt, we wrap up the last week in Rugby League more like Ratu and less like Mahe, as we track all the stories that the Pink Panther tries to hide from. We take a power stance on celebrating birthday week and find out the difference between a crush and a commitment. Get strapped in, it's SLP time. Hello listeners, you're listening to episode 277 of the Super League pod. This week you have myself, Wigan fan Mark, and you have Hull FC fan Sarah. Sarah, we probably didn't expect to be talking about a Hull FC win after what had gone before in the last 3 weeks, but you'll get to do that today, which is exciting for you. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
We've got loads of news again to go through, but most of it will just be rotating through re-signings and signings in the Championship and League One as those teams sort of gear up for 2021. So we'll get through to that later on. We've got a full round of Super League fixtures to talk about. After the latest rejig happened, that meant Wigan played Castleford rather than Catalans. So we'll talk through all the on-the-field action with the help of your fan reviews, quite a few this week, which is good to see. And then we'll give our predictions for what's going to happen next week in round 11 of the Super League, or this week, now that we've moved to the midweek games. So we'll get to that in a minute. Do you want to give everyone details about our episode sponsor?
Yeah, so this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. You can find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop. And on any orders over £5, you can earn 5% cash back, and also 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers if you put SLP discount at the checkout.
Great stuff. And speaking of Rugby League birthdays, we've had some significant Rugby League birthdays in the last week. Obviously, it was your birthday, Sarah. Happy birthday for last Friday.
Thanks.
The boys gave you a birthday present at the weekend, it seems.
Yep, that was kind of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, did you enjoy your birthday?
Yeah, I did, thank you. Yeah, it was nice. Saw some friends.
Good stuff. And then a day later, it was, of course, the birthday of another member of the SLP family, Paul O'Brien. So happy birthday to Paul. And then, of course, finally, the big birthday of the same day as Paul was the 125th birthday of Rugby League, which we had a little bit of feedback in about the some of the photos that came out from the Rugby Football League from Huddersfield on Saturday. Swiss fashion guy, which I can only assume is Karsten, but he's not known for his fashion. But let's find out what he says about someone else's. He says, "We need an investigation into Ralph's choice of suits. They are always ugly, but that violet is just peak ugly, especially in combination with those shoes. We really need a Royal Commission investigating this. It brings the sport into disrepute." I've got more issue about his stance. I don't know about you, Sarah.
I've missed all of this.
Well, there was a photograph taken outside the George Hotel with a few members of the Rugby Football League hierarchy and some Huddersfield mayoral people. I didn't really pay that much attention to exactly who was in the photo because Ralph just dominated it. He stood with this power stance that the politicians do nowadays, which actually just makes them look really open for a punch in the nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't have too much objection to his suit. I thought it was blue, not violet, but Emma always tells me my eyes have gone wrong somewhere in the line with colours. Maybe I'm not the best at picking out colours, but yeah.
But you know that men see in 16 colours and peach is a fruit.
Peach is a fruit. That's a fact.
That's my friend. That was my friend's favourite thing to say. Men see in 16 colours and peach is a fruit.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah, I don't understand the amount of colours there are. Definitely, we had a guy come to. Well, we went to look for paint, and the amount of different creams that we could search for, looking for paint yesterday, but the cream that we picked out, we got a tester part of, we got it home, and it turned out it was white. So I don't know how that happened, but there you go.
we played a game with the youth group on Zoom, and it was called Ice Cream Flavour or Dulux Paint Colour. And Peter had a list of them and would read them out, and you had to say whether it was an ice cream flavour or whether it was actually a paint colour. Things like, orange crunch.
Ah, yeah. We need to do that with like second tier Rugby League nation players. And I'm just trying to think of, I don't know, politicians. I don't know what the other comparison could be, but
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an SLP quiz for the future. The 125th birthday of Rugby League, though, we should talk about it. I mentioned it a little bit last week and a bit more this week. Loads of stuff was going on through the week online and things like that. Lots of releases with excerpts from Tony Collins' new book, interviews with people about the 125 years of Rugby League. There was some articles in the mainstream press. There was lots of stuff up on the RFL website. So it's always good to make sure we honour and celebrate our milestones, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's a real shame, isn't it, that such a big milestone's come at this current time.
Yeah.
This environment.
Yeah, especially when they'd actually been coordinated about planning for this anniversary, and they'd been, it's been things have been scheduled since the start of the year, and the RFL had done some clever stuff with their branding and stuff for this year, and we saw all the Sky presenters wearing the little pin badges and everything, and yeah, like you say, for it to kind of be cut off by the virus is
and it's nice that at least the game's back up and running at this point in the year when the celebrations are happening, but it's just, on a bit of a small scale, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was nice that we were able to have, a match kicking off basically just after the 6:30 sort of meeting time slot. Yeah. It's a bit strange that it was a game with one of the teams that opted out of going to the meeting at the George in terms of Salford. It might have been good if they had two teams that were at the George that played that game.
Yeah.
But either way, but lots of stuff for people to get into about the history of our game and the reason it came about, and certainly the from the start idea that this game shouldn't be restricted by things like class. I actually really like the fact that they read that statement out. The statement that was released. I thought that was a really nice touch. Yeah, from what was said at the meeting, definitely. You're
right,
yeah.
And like you say, it just sort of put flesh on the bones of why the game exists.
Yeah, and I think it was all done really well, and it was nice to see. And happy birthday to our wonderful sport, which without our sport, we wouldn't know each other, and loads of other people that listen to this show and chat to us and stuff we wouldn't be friends with, so it's great in that regard, our sport certainly as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Great stuff. So happy birthday Rugby League. We're now going to move on to news from around the world of Rugby League.
Okay, so this week's news, we heard that 3 Catalan Dragons players and a member of their non-playing staff returned positive tests in routine COVID-19 testing on Tuesday. The Dragons squad were all instructed to isolate as soon as the news of the positive tests was received, prompting the postponement of the Wigan fixture, with Castleford being called in to play Wigan instead. They will have further tests later this week. Of the players that have tested positive, 2 played in Saturday's Coral Challenge Cup tie against Wakefield. Test and trace analysis has shown 2 of Wakefield's players will also be required to self-isolate. Catalan's Dragons Super League home game with the Leeds Rhinos on the 7th of September has also been postponed as the French club continue to quarantine. The Rugby Football League and Super League will confirm a new date for the match in due course. So another club to be affected by the virus.
Yeah, luckily this one obviously didn't involve as many people being picked up on the test and trace side of things, which meant it didn't have a bigger effect on the fixture list. Like we said last time, it's really great that the clubs have shown this flexibility. The league has shown this adaptability that we could get the fixtures changed for this weekend. It's just a bit of a worry that the Leeds away game in Catalans, which of course was postponed on the eve of the season being suspended as well. It's just a shame that this game's going to have to be found a new place for. It would have been handy if Wakefield could have knocked the Catalans out of the Challenge Cup for fixture planning purposes. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it, that obviously when our players tested positive, the entire Salford team had to self-isolate, whereas it's just been deemed that only 2 players need to for Wakefield.
What I found strange was the players that were highlighted, which we'll go on to, Wakefield, but a fullback and a second rower were the players that were picked out for the ones who'd had sort of excessive amounts of contact, how they would judge it, because these players still have tested negative, haven't they, afterwards, but they want to give the period longer. I think the difference here is that it was 3 Catalans players and only 2 of them actually played in that fixture, whereas in your case it turned out to be 6 players who played in the game, didn't it? So it just as we know about how this disease can spread, it's exponential. So
it is, isn't it? Because actually you've tripled the number of people carrying it, haven't you? But then you've more than tripled the number of people that have to quarantine. It's
exactly.
Quite scary how quickly that happened.
Yeah, one thing I think is Catalans probably always would have maybe been the club most vulnerable in a way, just because they have to come in and out of airports and do a little bit more travelling than any of the other teams. The other teams can control their travel environment a lot more than the Catalans, who are having to change countries, could. But obviously now that the Super League clubs are going to be starting to go to Catalans, and instead of Leeds being the first ones to go to France, it'll be Wigan in 2 weeks' time, or 10 days' time now. So that'll be a bit of a lesson, and we'll see how the fact that this has happened to Catalans, hopefully they'll have managed to establish where they could make improvements or changes, even though it's so difficult to put any like we said with Hull, to put any actual blame on anyone. It's because everyone's dealing with this for the first time and learning as we go. But hopefully we don't see too much more of this, but it feels inevitable, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think after Hull, you kind of thought, oh, well, maybe Hull did something really terrible and every other club will be okay. But at the same time, you thought, it doesn't feel very likely. It feels that once it's happened once, it's going to continue happening. And now that it's happened to 2 clubs, you think, well, how long before the next club?
Yeah, that's right. I don't think anyone people will have come to conversations about Hull doing something terrible. I think it was more, had someone done something stupid, isn't it, with these things?
Yes, sorry, that's what I mean. In one way, you almost hope that they had, because then you could say, well, that's happened and that was really wrong. Yeah. But actually, if we can control things and not do stupid things, then it won't get into the game. But
you hope that when you sort of look at it and assess it, there's a clear lesson that can be learned that helps prevent it from happening next time. Yeah. And that lesson will clearly, with the cooperation that's going on around this, get shared around, so that hopefully we don't have this problem as we go on. Because the more this happens, the more likely it is that more than one team a week might be put out of shape for the fixtures, and then we can't get the fixtures completed. As things go on, there'll be a finite deadline on these things.
Yeah.
So,
you can't just keep finding dates to play extra matches, can you?
No, exactly. So hopefully there'll be another chance to learn another lesson here, and everyone will be safe. And most importantly, the 4 people who've got this disease, let's hope that they're all, there's 3 that are players and 1 that's non-player. Let's hope that all these people are young and fit and healthy and can overcome the illness that seems to be a lot better dealt with now than it was 4 months ago.
Yeah, although, I mean, there is talk that, there's a couple of Hull players who are still struggling with breathing issues. So, yeah, you just hope that it's not as serious.
No,
Struggling.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Let's hope everyone makes a full recovery, and that goes for everyone else out there who's